The Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. That is an Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars with Thomas. This is also the facelift of the RAV4, so we take both kind of the hybrid version and general the facelift, present you all the details on exterior, interior, driving experience, of course, of the consumption, which is really crucial with this hybrid engine. Does the concept work even in a compact SUV with this built-in hybrid? We're going to experience it in Autogefühl in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! We have discussed it lately. The Toyota has a design department which, tends to go its own ways. Take it that way. Here, this facelift, I think, they've done a quite nice job because the front, it looks a little bit slimmer, more modern. That has been done with the facelift, especially here with the headlight line. And in the hybrid version, we also got this blue background in the Toyota logo to say, okay, there's something different about this car. 4.57 meters or 15 feet is the total length of this vehicle. And the hybrid version already comes with a little bit higher trim level, called Comfort here, for example, in Germany. That one, for example, with 17-inch rims, but of course not too big, because when you put the alloys bigger, that also changes the tires and has maybe a negative impact on the rolling resistance. So they keep with 17 inch, but I think it's also enough. The side profile is also here with the hybrid logo if you have it. In general, it's rather conservative, so not too much arousing attention. And see, the roofline is a little bit going higher as we go to the rear of the vehicle and forming something of a sharp corner here and with a small rear wing. And overall, definitely a contemporary design in the side profile. In the rear, they have used now a nice crystal design for the tail lights. I think it's a really good job here. However, in general, what is quite strange, you see there's the rear window here, and then there's this kind of a nose, and it's really like this wide, big nose here with this Toyota logo. Well, they hide the mechanism to open it, the trunk beneath it. But still, I'm not sure what kind of use this is supposed to have. It looks a little bit deplaced. Or what's your opinion? Give me your comments about the design of the RAV4 right below here. This is the key, a rather cheap part of this car. Keyless entry also available. Pressing here opens it, or also later closes it. There it is. So closing here, then there it is, open. The door closing sound and also from the handles, not the best premium we've heard if you're interested in such details. Then I think that should be faux leather. Then I would think it's really nice. It's a combination here with a little bit softened up plastic here. Here again we got hard plastic, then the accentuation line there. I like this matte surface here. It looks great, it also feels matte. Then what is not so nice, for example, the Volkswagen Tiguan has 4 auto window levers. Here just 1 auto lever. Everything you have to hold until the end that it closes. And if we move on to the cockpit area, round air vents to open here and there. Then the top of the cockpit is again hard plastic, that's not so nice, but here nice leather red covers. We'll also see that on the other right side. Pretty standard steering wheel, and then really very nice cloth seats. I think they have a very, well, conservative but still elegant design with white contrast stitches and different kind of cloth used, and it's really soft, but the structure also helps you to keep a little bit vented. And I think really good cloth seats, and you see already from the setup they offer you a lot of space. Manual control here, for example, for the back part of the seats, and also to pump it up or lower. And by the way, to fuel up the car, to open it, it's right down there if you've searched it. And one of my favorite details are those floor mats with the RAV4 logo, everything really nicely done and also in a 3D style. And with this contrast here, it really lights up the whole interior, especially here for the hybrid. One of my favorite floor mats I've seen so far in non-premium cars. Then let's get inside. And indeed, those cloth seats are not only good from the surface, but also very comfortable from a seating form and also from the surface. So you really just feel cozy. It's a good upright seating position for SUV. Everything you would expect from a compact SUV. So this is really full recommendation for the comfort. As from my side, 1.86 m in height for all non-subscribers, or 6'1", and still have a lot of space above my head. It would still work also with panoramic sunroof, no problem. Cockpit overview. It's surely not the design highlight because we saw some mixing of forms. For example, it's strange, it looks like the gap for the vents in the top here, the horizontal line, but then again a central line right here. This one I think it's quite beautiful with the cover and also very soft. Also good from build quality here, but I think they have mixed some. We have parts with really great build quality, but then again some cheaper ones. So if they would step it up at some points, then it would really be perfect. So I have a lot of details to find here which I really like, and some more that I don't like that much, but that also makes the car interesting for your viewers then for sure. Classic automatic gearbox lever, more deals to that soon. Compact steering wheel. Everything is rather conservative in this cockpit overview. Storage space here with the glove box that slides down smoothly. Reasonable space here really inside. On the inside of the doors you've seen it wasn't that broad, rather slim. Then this big beverage holder right here. That works, by the way, good for big American bottles, for example. Then this armrest. You see, this one could be a little bit more fixed if they want to step up that more. Then you get good space here on the inside. There's also a Wi-Fi hotspot here built in this car, and second step here maybe for purse or whatever you could put right in there. And they have also put some glasses possibilities here. Instruments, rather classic display. On the left side you see this small EV symbol. While we drive the car, this one will appear when it's in the full electric mode. And in the middle we have the digital screen, and you know, there can we check out some stuff. For example, the consumption here, which is real, coming close to the official stated consumption. That's a great result. How does it really come? We will explain it in the driving. Middle console, please don't smoke. Then manual handbrake. I think it's still good to have a manual handbrake. I just like it. If you know, if all electronics fail, you will still have the possibility, even if it could be handy to have an electric park brake. Then I think they could redesign that to put in the gears, because you have to go like very old school style like this to driving mode here. This would be sport, then manual shift. This is the D mode, and you start first in the electric drive. Reverse would be like this then, but I mean, modern systems just have it like a straight line. That's a little bit old school, I think. And a big beverage holder in the front of here, and small run right here, or you can put the key in there, and small spaces in front of that as well. Then right here, 12-volt power supply, then USB and aux in, and here we got driving modes, EV mode, that, you know, should force the vehicle into the electric mode, but it's just working, I think, till 40-50 kilometers an hour. And when you hammer the throttle anyway, it jumps to the petrol drive. So this didn't make any sense for me. It didn't change too much. Eco mode, this makes sense because it reduces the throttle input a little bit. It helps you driving more economically. In sport, it's a different stuff. When you want to most power, increase the throttle input. More about that when we drive the car. To start the car, you press just right here, and it's good. With the hybrid drive, you can start totally silently. That's nice. Then you see here, this is the design accentuation in this car, and I guess it should be leather red, quite sure about it. And what is nice is it's really soft behind it. That is from a great build quality. You see, it's not just hard, it's really soft. And also here, the cover here is not just glossy, it has a matte structure on it. So they've done a great job here as well. Also when turning the knobs, I like the build quality here, and also it's a very easy and very well reachable system from the driver's seat. So really satisfied with this classic AC unit, and I think it's also good that they still have it separated. The media system, I'm not sure about that one because it's not that fast, you see, from the reaction times, and also not that intuitive. I can put the language to English. Always see takes some time. It can be used with touch here, as you can see, and then we can connect media, for example, Bluetooth for the phone. Controlling the volume, you can do it right here. And what's interesting, it doesn't have any clicking sound. It's a really smooth turning knob, but it feels very interesting. So I like it, this concept. To phone, you hit the hotkey here always. Car setup, you can see that's not our best consumption. I'm not sure why the trip meter is saying that. We have scored better ones. Then the GPS also looks, yeah, it's not the most modern one. It does the job, that works, but here again, not that well scrollable like in a touchpad. So yeah, not the most modern software. It works, it does the job, but it's surely not the highlight and everything else you can see here. There's also some online connectivity stuff available with some strange apps partly, and I've tested some of those apps, and there was, for example, some apps where here glass of water, and then it's like you should drive very slowly. Does not require, okay, yeah. Well, it did work before when I was driving the car. Let's see if it's got activated when I start the car. That's really strange. It was working before, you see, then the system restarts. Nice Toyota visualization right here. Taking time and time. That's also the reason why we show you that live and don't fake anything. See, engine goes on now. Loading, loading, loading. And you know, that's about this infotainment system. So maybe one of the least favorite stuff here. So back to this app stuff. Because this car has also an internet connection. So where is it again? Toyota Online. Well, now my app's not available. I don't know. But this glass of water app, really strange system. It was like when you brake or accelerate very hard, you try to keep a digital glass of water in center. And this was really distracting also while driving. Let's see if it's working right now. I'll just start driving. Well, it's a funny stuff because, for example, when I hit the brakes now, there, go first now it works. Speed, showing the speed, and then if I hit the brakes too hard, it says how much water I've spilled, 1 centiliter spilled now. I accelerate too hard, then I've spilled some water again. And also when I'm going in the corners too hard, I'll spill some more water. It should teach you to drive very calmly, that you can save some fuel. Okay, that's a nice idea, but again, imagine people looking at the screen here all the time. Oh, do I spill some water? That might be more distracting than it helps you. What about the rear? By the way, I've turned off the ignition now because this is also a car that makes really annoying beeping sounds. Very clean rear design, don't you think so as well? And in general, I really like it with those white contour stitches, and then again, the bright ceiling, which makes the car very light from the interior. So overall, I'm very satisfied with the interior here. Then let's get inside, also with those contrasting floor mats here. And we have really good space, a good package here with the car. So 4 adults, no problem. And well, in the middle seat here, it still works. So yeah, you could also drive with 5 adults, but 4 adults, of course, that is definitely more comfortable. But good seating position here in the rear. You can also adjust the rear bench. That is a very good feature if you want to sit more upright, because some people want to say, you know, I'd rather sit upright also in the rear. By the way, here in the rear, you sit relatively high in comparison to the front seats. That might be very good for children, for example, if you know, for a little bit bigger children, they still have a good overview. If you mount some child seats, I mean, they are sitting higher anyway. Then you can also go into this sleeping position, whatever you desire. And this is also the same mechanism to flip the bench. But then what's not that good is it's also the only possibility to do that. You cannot do it from the rear, and I'll soon show you what is the problem here with the transition to the trunk. But overall here so far a very good result, and also good comfort for the rear passengers. Blue Toyota logo here also in the rear for the hybrid. And then, well, you see it's very long with the hatch, and you have to be careful not to hit yourself with that's really dangerous, but you have to get used to it. And then you have the advantage that you have a low loading sill. That is good again, so you have to live with that. Theoretically well usable, this trunk space. And what I will show you now, you see we have one seat flipped here, and then there's a gap that goes on there, and there's some stuff, for example here the tire repair kit. And well, you lose only about 50 liters if you pick the hybrid, so that's not really it. I think that's not the best setup they've thought of here. What I like are those fixations for for tension belts. I like that and need it when I put my bicycle in here. Then there are some solutions right here, for example, to put a net for some smaller stuff if you want to store it, but you can also just remove that whole stuff. It's not that easy because you have to do it at the same time. It's a little bit tricky. That's the way. And well, you could, for example, then just go to the rear and store it in the footroom or in front of the rear seats. And the same is with this cover right there. First of all, there's this extension right here, and I'm not really sure you can put it in right there to have a cover here, but what's the reason to close this gap? I'm not really sure why should it make sense. I would leave it out. And then this one here, also no rails on the side, wobbles around, not really that great. However, it's easy to put out, and then you can also store it behind the seats right there. And I can show the total setup right here. You see, it's not really even space, and here it's really high. That is a disadvantage, definitely, that you don't have too much space to the floor there. And let's see, what about the co-driver seat? It is manually, but not the possibility to put it way in front, but you can slide it quite far in the front, and then you have a lot of space from here until the rear. So the trunk area, well, it's really limited in the height here. Battery is also placed in the lower part here in the car. That is a little bit reducing it, but overall still a versatile car. Let's look underneath the hood, and this is the combination here. 2.5 liter naturally aspirated engine, and all the orange parts you can see are the combination with the electric drive, and total system power is about 200 horsepower. Here we got the electric drive on the front wheels, but there's also a system available where you get a second electric motor. Well, what is it used for? For towing, because then you can increase the towing capacity from 880 to 1,650 kilograms for 3,000 euros extra. Other than that, it doesn't make so much sense. And 8.3 seconds is the acceleration from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, or 0 to 60 miles an hour. If you're not going for the hybrid system, you could also go for a diesel that is delivered by BMW, or also for a 2-liter naturally aspirated engine. But as Toyota is offering the hybrid drive here for approximately the same price, in general it makes sense when you buy a RAV4 that you also go for the hybrid engine. Or what do you think? Let's start driving the Toyota RAV4 built-in hybrid, and the good thing is, of course, it starts totally silent. I'm in the EV mode. Well, I was in the EV mode, so that might be, let's see, that's my parking mode. Going to D again. Yeah, that's something. So I think it has to do with the AC. That when you have the AC on, as I have it right now, and being in the parking mode, that, see, after a while maybe the combustion engine is being turned on. That might be the solution. But no, as I went into the drive mode, it goes back into the electric mode, and it says here EV in the screen. And so I'm driving silently, and that's of course a very comfortable and nice feeling. There's also this EV mode button. That's now not available as the battery is too weak, and well, I've tested it before. It doesn't make too much sense because above 50 kilometers an hour it gets deactivated anyway. And I mean, you're usually using it in the lower speed situations. But the thing is, when you're in the lower speed regions, you're driving electronically, anyway. So I'm not really sure. The EV mode doesn't make too much sense to me, because when you hit the throttle, it jumps to the combustion engine mode anyway. So best thing is just let the car do it. And well, the eco mode is nice because it reduces the throttle input a little bit. So in the eco mode, you also, the feeling is a little bit support that you can drive easier just by the electric mode. So that helps you staying in the EV mode and driving a little bit more relaxed. Of course, if you want more performance, you just deactivate this eco mode, or can even go into a sport mode. Then also red appears here with sport mode. The throttle input is, see here, increased. Again here, difference when I'm in the eco mode and go for throttle a little bit. Very, very slight acceleration. Not so much is happening. Deactivating the eco mode goes further in the power area, better throttle limit in the sport mode. I really get a boost. You see it again when I accelerate again. That's of course nothing for saving fuel. That's really when you maybe on a hurry, maybe want to do something on a motorway, something like that. And then you see, like here now, the combustion engine is being turned up in the revs. See, and in the city, of course, it doesn't make sense because I have to apply the brakes then anyway again. So the sport mode also can almost always activates the combustion engine like this now, and you hear it's also a little bit louder. But usually I want to use the hybrid, as I do have the hybrid here now, and also driving in the eco mode to save some fuel. So my long-term consumption is at 7 liters on 100 kilometers. That could be a little bit less, I guess. The problem is when you're on the motorway, the hybrid doesn't use anything anymore. It's more like you're carrying all of the weight, the extra weight the car has on the motorway. And that's, a rather negative thing. The best thing here for the hybrid is really when you're in the city, because then you can really use the advantages of the hybrid drive. Going downhill, recuperating, getting some energy back to the battery again, going at slower speeds, using just the EV mode. That really makes sense. On the Autobahn doesn't make too much sense. And well, this is already a rather big car for a built-in hybrid. And I felt, for example, when I was driving the Kia Niro most recently, which is a smaller crossover, there the eco mode was activated quite more often. That might have to do as there's really less in weight. The electric drive can be used better. Here I'm a little bit disappointed that I'm not more often just in the pure electric driving mode. I would have expected that's here also a little bit more often. Here, for example, the other car almost runs over the red traffic light, and I just go in the brakes, because with a normal combustion engine you say, okay, I just make this jump here through the yellow traffic light because I also don't want to lose so much energy. Here, when I hit the brakes, I can recuperate again, and I always see that here in the instruments it's either on charging mode or on the power mode. And here, of course, what makes sense just when starting the drive here again, well, sometimes it's the case, especially when the AC is on, that the combustion engine is suddenly jumping on again. Let's just deactivate the AC for a moment. Let's see if there's any big difference. That would be very interesting as well. At the moment, I can also have this visualization here in the middle one. For example, the engine is charging the battery, and also engine is giving the power to the wheels. When I lift the throttle, now wheels power to the battery again, and it switches really back and forth depending on the driving situation. Here now in the electric drive mode, yeah, it's also a thing of the AC. It's really interesting how much this one differs. Now it's off again, combustion engine is running as well. Overall, the driving feeling, you have the upright seating position here in the Toyota RAV4 that is very comfortable, so long-term riding. Also those cloth seats offer good comfort and still already enough side support, so I'm really satisfied with the seats and the long-term comfort. Also the overview is very good to all of the sides, as we use rather steep windows. The steering is not that direct, and well, here at lower speeds it's quite okay. Feels a little bit artificial. We've seen better ones, but not bad at all or something like that. The suspension is rather set on comfort, not too much as for the agile ride. So we've had some other SUVs that more have this sporty approach, especially if you think about, we've talked about that quite often already. If you think about the German SUVs, they're more set on a little bit stiffer suspension, more on an agile, sporty ride, also good at higher speeds, for example, high motorway speeds. The Japanese or Korean SUVs are usually a little bit more set on the comfortable riding, thinking about traffic maybe in Japan or in the US, long highway roads that go straight. It's not so important to have a very agile suspension. Then it's really more important to have it a little bit softer, like it is here now. So it's not about what is good or bad. It depends on your riding situation and your preferences. So I can also set the adaptive cruise control here. First of all, set, and then decrease or increase the speed with the lever at the steering wheel. And so far I did a very good job. I can also change the distance. Now a little bit less distance to the car in front of me. Sound insulation, I have not noticed anything bad, especially at the lower speeds. I think they're also at a very good level. And overall, the car conveys a very solid driving feeling. It's not a premium driving feeling, that I cannot really say, but a very solid driving feeling. And all of the systems, again, they work really good. Also, we got a blind spot warner. Let's see, there will be a car approaching. Look at the left. There it is. Blind spot warner, yellow symbol. So it's on both sides. It's really very helpful system here again. Car coming from the left side. So and now I'm just leaving my foot off throttle on brake. The adaptive cruise control is controlling everything. We'll soon also approach the motorway, that we can give you a little bit more speed impression how the car is handling on the motorway. But so far, for the city ride, it's a very well to handle SUV. It gives you a good overall feeling, a safe feeling, and it's also very easy to control car, really. And the hybrid system is everything, doing on its own. Consumption, again, as I said, could be a little bit lower. As for sporty riding, you can also set from a D mode to the S mode and then set separate gears, third, going forward, fifth, and so. But it's not really gears in a traditional sense, and you usually just leave it in automatic, because here we got the CVT, the continuously variable transmission, and that means it's not on the technical side that you really have those separate gears. It's more like a smooth transition, and there you also feel it when you're accelerating. You don't feel any big shifting process, something like that. So now we're heading off to the motorway and can increase the speed a little bit, and we can also show you some acceleration figures. You know, let's see, for example, when I'm going like 70 to 100 now, let's go. And that's it. And this is the naturally aspirated petrol engine. You heard the engine has to work pretty much then, as there's no turbo support. Again, I think it's not good, not bad that it's a naturally aspirated engine, because that also promises you a long-term durability usually. And I haven't heard anything really negative about the durability of the Toyota hybrid system. Maybe you can also give me feedback. If you're maybe a Toyota rider and have this hybrid system here for a long time already, that would be a very interesting feedback to hear. No question. So now at 100 kilometers an hour, I have to say we had some other SUVs in the compact segment that were more silent from the insulation. And just the day before here, I've been driven the Volkswagen Tiguan R-Line, which is also competitive here in this compact SUV segment. Not available as a hybrid yet, but Tiguan has better insulation, has also a sportier ride, and the ride itself feels also a little bit more premium. The RAV4, however, has other advantages, for example, that the hybrid system is being offered, and the car is also very simple in general to control. Also, from the build quality, I've told you that in the interior, besides of the hard plastic dashboard, we see another great solution at the lower parts, and also button-wise, it's also easily accessible here. For example, with the touchscreen while driving, also the temperature controls. I think it's the most important that the temperature controls are really well accessible, because maybe you do change that a little bit more often. I'm turning on the AC now, by the way, again. So now with 100 kilometers on the motorway set to the cruise control, there the hybrid system really doesn't play into effect, and let's see that the battery is getting recharged here right now. Does it really make sense? I don't know. I see especially those built-in those built-in hybrid systems make more sense with smaller vehicles that are primarily used inside a city. With some bigger cars, also SUV, I don't know. Maybe then already the plug-in hybrid version makes more sense, because then you can refill it at the station or at home, and then use the full electric vehicle inside the city. Here it's something like a half thing. I don't know, but in the Prius it does work quite well. Therefore also taxi drivers, for example, increasingly say, yeah, I'm interested in the Toyota Prius because it has a low consumption. And also when you think about taxi drivers going in the taxi waiting lane, maybe just a little bit step further, that makes sense to have this short distance hybrid ride then here, because the pure electric riding distance is like maximum 1 or 2 kilometers, but you see it gets deactivated pretty fast. So from comfort wise, it's still a very good ride here, also at higher speeds on the motorway. We can also do some lane change, see how the car behaves here. Yeah, it doesn't convey the best contact to the road, as I said, not the most sporty SUV. So this one here, an SUV choice for you if you really say, okay, I want a relaxed run, set on the comfort, and I don't want to do this racing stuff in SUVs. It's, there are some SUVs that combine sportiness and comfort. Yes, that's possible as well. But this one you don't. But again, it's not really such a bad thing, you know. Overview is still good here on the motorway to all of the sides. I like that as well. Also the assistance systems, no matter if it's the blind spot warner or the adaptive cruise control, are really working very flawlessly. Just sometimes when you stand still and open doors, and so there are again those annoying beeping sounds that can be sometimes a little bit disturbing. There's also a lane keeping assist available. I can activate it right now. And also it's a steering assistant, and I mean the system is not designed to be an autonomous drive, but let's see if I'm kept here inside the lane. Seems like. Or maybe here to the left side. There you see it. The car was counter steering, but then also beeps and say, wake up Thomas. But I think it's good to have the system, just in case. I mean, there might be a situation where I might be distracted by a GPS, by something else on the road, I don't know. And then there's still something here, you know, that could help you in such situations. Or if you maybe get sick while driving, then it could also make sense to have this fail-safe mechanism inbuilt here. So, yeah, hybrid driving primarily for the city, there it works. But again, I would have wished if the electric drive mode would be a little bit more often active, and it's very fastly overridden if you hammer the throttle, then of course there as well. But it's good that they offer such a system, and interesting that this hybrid system is not really, you know, much more expensive than the normal engines you would pick. So that's still, you know, something very interesting, because Toyota is building so much of those plug-ins that of those built-in hybrids. Sorry, I'm always mixing it up, not in my head, but just language-wise. From this built-in hybrids, soon also more plug-in hybrids that really works also from a cost efficiency. Going downhill now, maybe 180 to 100. Let's go. And 100. Yeah, you hear the naturally aspirated engine is really turning up the RPMs then. So now riding 120. And see, maybe at higher speeds, what happens at higher speeds when I go off the throttle? Yeah, so now a little bit charging, no combustion engine active, just the battery is being recharged. It's strange, because now the car does not say I'm in EV mode at those higher speeds, even if the engine is not running. That's a strange finding. Maybe it's the case like in the higher speeds, just the engine is staying activated, because it's rather likely that at those high speeds you maybe leave the throttle for a moment again, and then at some point you hammer it back again. Well, the acceleration at those higher speeds is really not the biggest talent of this RAV4 Hybrid, because I mean, if you think about 100 to 120 or something like that, there the car is relatively slow. A classic diesel engine or a classic, for example, petrol turbo would do a better thing here. So you can really get the biggest advantages of these hybrid systems in the city, or when going downhill, that not all of the downhill energy is being used. What is also very well working here, also when I'm hammering the brakes a little bit harder, it's not like that the system is very fastly changing to the normal brakes, like it did, for example, the Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid. Here, really, the maximum recuperation is used first, and if that is even not enough, then the normal brakes are also applied, and that system also just makes sense, definitely. So, and some agility right here. And the steering, especially at higher speeds, feels rather unnatural, I have to say. It's a little bit too loose also for the higher speeds. And the beeping, by the way, you heard, that was again from the lane keeping assistant saying, Thomas, you're doing something wrong here. And so I can also deactivate it if you're more annoyed by this beeping sound. So I'll still keep on charging, recuperating, and then hitting the throttle again. I hope you liked our driving insight here with the Toyota RAV4. And now the conclusion, Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. I think the biggest thing about this car is that Toyota offers a hybrid technology which is kind of the same price than you would get with normal engines, because they built it so enormously, those hybrid built-in concepts, that they also have economies of scale in this very respect. And I think that's a very important thing. And as long as you drive the vehicle mainly in the town, inside the city, then it really works with this inbuilt hybrid concept, even with a compact SUV. The longer you go on higher speed autobahn journeys, then you carry around the additional weight with you, and that doesn't make so much sense. But in general, with the total consumption, I was really satisfied. 6.5 liter with a petrol engine, also with this naturally aspirated petrol, and that was quite good. It's not the real performance car, you know, that's not the strength of the car, but you drive rather relaxed with it, and it's a really solid ride overall. The design, I think, from the Toyota cars, it's one of the most beautiful ones, because we have some more Toyota cars which look really ugly, I have to say. But this one here, really good in my opinion. The interior design has some strengths and also some weaknesses. We've covered that in detail. Overall, I think it's also a good offering of space. Just the trunk area is, you know, not the best I've seen. And again, overall, I think a very good compact SUV. Therefore, it's also worldwide very successful. Be sure also to check out some other compact SUV reviews. It's always easy to search on YouTube, like Autogefühl, like for example model name, or Autogefühl brand model name. For example, Autogefühl Volkswagen Tiguan or Autogefühl Mazda CX-5, then you will directly find our other compact SUV reviews. I think we have reviewed every compact SUV there's on the market so far. Thank you very much for tuning into Autogefühl. I hope you keep supporting us, and I want to hear your comments on the exterior, interior and the driving experience of the Toyota RAV4, and of course also about the concept, and share also your experience if you own such a vehicle, or if you want to buy such a vehicle, or if you just bought a Toyota RAV4. See you next time at Autogefühl with Thomas. Thanks.